just get started. So, hi everybody, this is Divining, and I'm here for the divine healing. And so what I'm bringing to you on this YouTube channel today is different healers, whether it's food, music, art, body healing, mind, soul, all that good stuff. I have a wonderful guest today. I'm super excited, if you can tell, and this is my first video, so I'm like, Thank you, Angel. So I have Angel with me, which I just met at a beautiful retreat called Sol y Luna.
Sol y Luna.
Sol y Luna. I always want to say La Luna, La Luna.
Yes.
Sol y Luna. And it was amazing to meet you, and it was a Tantra event with a little BDSM, and they had some healers there, and Angel was one of the healers, and you know, his tent was kind of close by, and I could really hear there was definitely a lot of people that had come to you. I could really hear them, you know, expressing and letting go of a lot, and so I'm really interested to get into this with you and kind of get your insights, you know, of like what you do and how you came to this. So let's just get started.
Yeah. Well, I'll start. My name is Angel Love, and you know, I was so blessed to talk with Lucia beforehand and have the opportunity to be of service at this shamanic tantra, a little bit of BDSM, and what a beautiful time, what an amazing space she created and put together. I'm still blown away. So
can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am a shamanic practitioner and a tantric practitioner. I also do some like life coaching and things of that nature as well. I came into this work through my own journey of healing, and it's certainly been a long unfolding, and one that I'm very grateful for. One where I went from being very much disempowered, things happening to me, to really finding my power, taking responsibility for my life, and really healing so many different aspects of me along the way. And I'm still on that journey, you know. It's not necessarily a destination, but a journey, and it's been a lot of fun.
Could I ask, so how did your awakening, or when would you say that your awakening took place to, you know, like you really wanted to explore the Tantra or the shamanic?
There's been so many along the way. As far as the shamanic things, I feel maybe some people took notice that I didn't say, hey, I'm a shaman. There's a lot of people that get triggered around that. There's a lot of indigenous lineage that have the belief that you get to be born into this. And I see that, I understand it. And there's also an aspect of, I didn't necessarily choose this path. It sort of chose me. And it came to me when I was young in my dreams, and there was multiple mystical experiences that I've had that can't necessarily be explained. And I always just kind of brushed them aside, like, did that really happen? Did that just really happen? And, or, you know, well, maybe that's not how it is, but a lot of it is really acknowledging these subtleties that actually hold a lot of truth. So it's that. So there's that, and I didn't acknowledge any of that stuff until more recent years, when I started working with the shaman, and him telling me, you believe these things, like this is real, like you trust these things, trust these experiences that you're having. And we did soul retrieval and some other work around that. But when I first started to come into, one of the first heart openings, I think, was my real beginning for this unfolding that really broke me open.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened through a transformational process, a class, really. It was it's called Next Level, and it was a 3-day event where we went. It was group work. Maybe 100 of us came together and went through this event. Think maybe like Tony Robbins or something like that, but it's very experiential, small group activities and things. I didn't even want to be there. I was my co-parenting partner. We were actually married at the time. I saw her go through it, and she created amazing results in her life. Like, great, that's good for you, but I don't need that. You know, don't need it at all. That's great. I'm glad you're doing your thing. Wonderful. Meantime, I was completely stressed out. I was in such breakdown. I was not doing well at all, but I still had this facade on, and I was so determined, and I'm so strong, I can do this, and I can just keep beating my head against the wall, and it really wasn't working. Anyway, coming back to this training that I did, she came back. It's a 3-part series. Their main curriculum is a 3-part series. And she came back from the second one all lit up again just creating amazing results in her life. And she comes back and she says, "Oh, by the way, I signed you up." And I'm like, "No, why? Like, I don't need, that's good for you, but I don't need it. I don't want to go." And I ended up going to that first one, and the trainer is such an amazing facilitator. His name, Christopher Hawker, has the ability to speak in a way that so many different people can hear the message, and kind of everyone is able to resonate a bit. And I realized I really liked the things that he was saying, and they resonated. I realized that I was going to get out of it what I put into it, and I was going to be there for the weekend regardless. So I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go in. I'm choosing to go in 110% on this journey. Ended up being journey within myself, just to really look at all the things and take responsibility of my life, it was, they call it leadership through emotional intelligence. And it was great. It was a very masculine way of coming to terms with where you are right now. I haven't looked back a whole lot since. I completed their whole training, and I went back to coach it a couple of times. And when I went back to coach it, through just some randomness, is they don't advertise this as being spiritual or anything of that nature. It's very much corporate world, business oriented things. However, it very much is, and it can be, and there's so many actually components of tantric practices, of Buddhist practices, so many different pieces woven into this training. And I had a massive heart opening. It just, I felt for the first time maybe, just my capacity to love expanded so much. Like, I don't know, for me, and I have this time and time again, is sometimes I'll be sitting in a meditative space, or sometimes I'll sit and just get quiet and listen maybe to nature, or I'll just be connecting in, and I'll be so happy that there's just tears. Just, it's unexplainable. It's almost transcends words. So
it's beautiful.
That was really the start of my unfolding. And from there, it's just continued to unfold more and more, and I've continued to learn and really acknowledge some of the things that have happened throughout my life that, oh wow, I get to pay attention to these things, these subtleties. So
nice.
Yeah.
So is there you mentioned that you had worked with a shaman yourself. Is there a particular lineage that you follow with regards to your shamanism, or is it more just, like you said, like an intuitive, following like your emotional intelligence, going into that? How do you bring that forward?
Yeah, it's not necessarily, I've picked up practices from many different lineages, so there's not one in particular. And sometimes it's just a deep knowing, following an intuition. I've had, though I've worked with, shamans here in the flesh, sometimes they come to me in my dreams. I have a guru that comes to me in my dreams and guides me, sometimes supports me in different ways. And some of the things I said about when I was younger, things came through to me in my dreams. I met my spirit animal, and realizing that I was scared. Oh my goodness, it was a jaguar, a black jaguar. And when I was that age and in those dreams, I had no idea any of these things existed. But this animal would come to me and it would scare the bejeebers out of me. And usually I would wake up, So through so many different learnings and intentional practices, I've made friends with that spirit animal, and now use it to support me and support others in their journey.
It's beautiful. That really is beautiful, and something that I want to kind of incorporate into this is not only with that offering, but seeing your walk and your lifestyle and how you live, because I know that you kind of like are traveling around, and have this offering, and we get kind of caught up thinking like once we have start to have these gifts, like we have to have a storefront and this is the way it's going to look, and we have to be in one place, and and just to kind of see that flow and what you're doing. Can you kind of speak into that a little bit of how you have like this, it's like the spiritual nomadic, which is so great. Yeah. And I think it says a lot to what we're all moving towards, is our freedom of being able to choose and go where we want, and just know that spirit has us, and like we're guided to meet who we're supposed to, heal in that moment or be around. Yeah. So can you share a little bit of how you got on that path of kind of?
Yeah, so right now I'm a traveling tantric practitioner. I do somatic body work, where, I incorporate a lot of different practices in that, and I don't know, I really feel that I was called to be on the road. I have a truck with a slide-in camper. That's my full-time residence, And for some, to me, a couple of years ago, that would have seemed completely wild and unimaginable. And I just, from previous to that, I was in a house, a little farmhouse, for a little over 10 years. But I had this knowing, some knowing that, hey, I get to prepare for it's to go. I'm gonna go. And as I was gonna take about a year to start planning things, and the universe says, nope, you're ready now, and created the circumstances where I was blessed to unload all of my things. I had so many things, oh my goodness, and so many things that even sentimental things, old childhood pictures, all these things, and so much of it I brought to a ceremonial fire. And thank you for being in my life. I release you, and I just let so many things go. And it's been extremely freeing. And I think that's one of the things that's just been part of my journey, and part of the theme of this past year has been to get free. Now this year, of course, is my word of the year is do.
I love it.
So.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, I see how so many of us are on the same path right now, in this past year, 2 years really, and in the midst and the beginning of COVID, it was like, Spirit had talked to me, and, I was in an apartment, and literally for me, Spirit always talks to me through the body. So my feet were itching. Spirit's like, you got to go now. Your feet are telling you get up and move, like you said, just do. And I did the same thing. I mean, I didn't do the fire, but I just basically gifted everything away and packed everything in my car. And I'm like, okay, I don't know where I'm really going or where I'm, but I'm just going to follow, that intuition and what feels right. So it's great to hear, so that, if someone else is the toe is kind of in and out, I always feel like the universe, and we think it's these bad things happen, but oh gosh, and it's what a blessing that these things happen, to get you, the universe is saying, no, it's time to go, and it's okay to step out. And sometimes we need those things to just kind of push us out and, make those moves.
Absolutely.
So, I guess the inspiration is whoever's going through this right now is know that, again, it goes back to trusting, and just trusting that, we're always taken care of, no matter what, and just, if we follow that, we follow our heart, it's always, perfect. And,
it's been a journey for me to be able to surrender to the unknown and trust in it. How can I move through life in the unknown? And the thing is, I highly believe that safety is an inside job. Once we have physical safety, that nobody is maybe physically harming us or whatnot, but the feeling of safety is really an inside job of how can we trust that we are held. And it's also an illusion, because we only have control over ourselves. So it's a wild paradox.
It is. And just even driving over here, I was, I like to say those things in my head too, the reaffirmations, you're safe in this body, it's okay, and kind of just, talk to myself, to let myself, because, I can get into the world too, and everything that's happening, and, and then I have to come back into the body and feel back into that, and know that it's, like you said, this is all we have, and this is where the safety begins. So if someone wants to find you, and if they're, are interested, what is the best way or avenue, and, to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you could go to my website. It's angellovejourneys.com.
Okay.
you could read about my services there. I'm going to be looking for other festivals to offer my services, and obviously just get this work out into the world. I think it's so important that people are aware of these alternative healing methods. That it's sad how the Western medicine is very good at treating our symptoms, yet it totally skips over the root cause of many of the illness, and how much of it is just created by our conditioning and our belief systems, and how those create our energy field, and how they have a way of manifesting in our physical reality. So through my work is, some of the things is work on undoing those things and releasing those blocks. And yeah, could also follow me on social media, and you could figure that out through my website, angellovejourneys.com.
Okay. And I know you work with both, so you mentioned like men and women, and we kind of had this conversation before with regards to really, and I just want to bring this up of, because we started to cry a little bit, in the kitchen before we got started, of like bringing forth, how the men can really start to embody their divine feminine, so that they can be whole and hold, us women in our wholeness.
Yes.
And is that something, do you feel, because what I notice in with the sexual part and what I've met and experienced through men, and something that I want to bring up is, and we open these channels of being able to speak freely about these things, but as much as as women we have been abused sexually, so many men have been abused sexually, and there's so much shame and guilt around that they don't really, as women, we, there's this Me Too movement, and we're becoming more open and being able to, bring this forth and really talk about it, but men, are still very, they're the macho, you don't cry, you don't talk about those things, even more so. So what type of, healing, or would you say would it be, if someone has that type of trauma, what would you suggest would be more, would it be more of a shamanic, do you feel, in the beginning, and then the sexual, or do they start right in, or how do you feel like that flow would go for someone that is ready to start feeling into that, and maybe just wants a safe, sacred man, to come to start to have these open conversations?
So I think it really starts with conversation. It starts with working on our mindset, and it could also go into energy healing, and maybe I do tantric massage and work with energy in the body in a way that moves the blocks and moves the things that we've been hanging on to. Now I do also incorporate sexuality into my practices, and it doesn't have to be introduced immediately, and sometimes it doesn't have to be introduced at all, but I think in order for us to be a really complete whole person, it's important that we include all aspects of ourselves. And we've created so much shame around sexuality that anything now that is seen as sexual has just, it must be wrong, there's a resistance to it. And it's actually, there's so many different types of sexual experiences. We could have, sex for procreating. We could have sex to have fun, for pleasure. We could have sex for healing as well. In fact, it is that type of sexual healing is the most powerful form of healing that I am aware of, and that's why I do this work. going back to your question a little bit, I think a good start for men is to really go within and see, like, what are we scared of?
Mm-hmm.
What are we resistant to? I think homophobia is a huge block for so many brothers.
But I wonder if that's where it stems from in a lot of instances, you know what I mean? Like, is it coming from that, you know, space of...
There's, oh my goodness, there's so many different aspects of, well, we've made we've made it so wrong that so many men are so scared to show each other love and support. Like, oh no, what if I do this, they might think I'm gay, or if I do this, there's also a lot of competition between men. And I know there's competition between women too, you know, which also hinders sisters from, you know, really supporting one another. It's the same thing with brothers, that we think, well, I have to show up a certain way to be the best so that I will attract the best partner, or however, you know, there's so many beliefs about these things.
I know, real quick, a funny story. So the other day, I'm there with, you know, a friend of mine in the car or whatever, and, you know, he mentions his, like, lips are dry, and I'm like, oh, here, use my shiny lip gloss. And he's like, oh no. You know, I'm like, why? He's like, oh, I went to this gay guy and he tried to put this shiny lip gloss on me, and, you know, so it was like this, like you're saying, like, if I put this shiny, I'm like, oh, so what does it mean? You want to suck him if you have shiny lips on? Like, you know what I mean? We make up these stories, and, like, no one else is thinking that, you know what I mean? But here you are, like, you're so afraid to just put lip gloss on. Like,
so exactly, and this actually brings up another thought that is recent in my mind, of there are so many men who get offended who would and have got offended if they have been sexualized by somebody, or feel like they've been sexualized by another man who may find them interesting. And I wonder if they've ever put themselves in the shoes of a woman that has been sexualized, and how that must feel, that they could actually see that from a different point of view. It's a little bit of a tangent, but something that's, you know,
definitely
highly in my awareness. Going back to your question, you know, where do men start? And I think it's just leaning in with one another, being able to trust one another, to be vulnerable. It's one of my visions to be able to do the work to inspire other brothers to do the work of really becoming a whole person. And when we can really become a whole person and be very secure within ourselves, we can show up for the divine feminine to be able to unfold. And it's one of I'm actually currently working on a course for that. It's called Reconnect, a man's journey to becoming the best partner.
Beautiful.
And it's really about being able to take radical self-responsibility in all the ways that we can, so that we can allow the feminine to shine through, to grow. And what I find is that we end up building off of each other, and we end up where the masculine comes in and the feminine can meet each other and see each other as divine beings. We can really, it's building blocks. One just builds off of the other, builds off the other, builds off the other. It's a very beautiful process.
Yes, and I love it because I'm seeing all these beautiful divine couples coming together, and you know, in their wholeness. And like you said, I mean, enough of those, you know, it's really beautiful. Well, Angel, I want to thank you so much. I am going to put your information on the bottom of where people can go and find you on your, all your social media.
Yay.
And so, yeah, if you'd like to have a session with Angel, definitely reach out. Amazing. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So thank you for joining us for Divine Healing. And stop in next time and see who's coming on to share their wonderful, beautiful magic with you. Have a wonderful day.
Big love.
Big love.